Your home for everything rugby league. This is Running It Straight with Sam Hewat and Anthony Gelling on SENZ.
Welcome into Running It Straight, folks, for another Wednesday, talking rugby league for the next hour. On the 5th of June, it is the eve of Origin game number 1 between New South Wales and Queensland. Myself and Jello will talk. We'll take you through the next 60 minutes or so. We had a very special guest lined up, Cameron Smith, the GOAT. He's played the most Origins of any player, 42. And regarded as one of the greatest of all time, Jello, and he's pulled out on us in the last minute. So
I can imagine him being a very busy man on Origin Day.
Too busy for Running It Straight, though. Too busy for Anthony Gallen. I mean, look, I dropped your name, and it was an instant yes. But anyway, we're going to pivot.
That's crazy. What did you say? 49 Origins.
42
Origins. So the average NRL career is like 70 games or something like that. So he's almost played an average career.
In Origin.
Of just Origin.
How many NRL games did you play?
8 games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's done pretty well, Cam Smith, but he's not done well enough to join us on Running It Straight. So we're pivoting. We're going to this one's an interesting one for me, Jello. Not a name that would jump out to me when I say State of Origin, but Dylan Napa. Is it Napa or Napa?
Napa.
And
yeah.
I think he's played about 7 or 8 Origins, so he's played a couple.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting talking to him because he was part of the last of the Queensland dominance. So
yes.
The JT, the Cam Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He started with those guys and he finished with like the new look kind of Queensland.
Interesting, yeah. So he'll have some good thoughts as well. So I'm looking forward to catch up with him. We do that in around about 10 minutes' time. We, of course, do have NRL to talk about. We do have Warriors to talk about as well, Jello. And first and foremost, we will do a big preview of Origin before we finish the show. But I want to talk about the Origin period and where it sits for you because we see what it does to the rest of the NRL. Lots of teams, particularly we saw over the weekend, are gutted with their Origin stars. You throw in injuries as well. And you see all sorts of not bizarre results, but results that sort of get an asterisk next to them because they're not quite playing full-strength teams. I guess that's good from a competition balance point of view, but do you think they do the Origin period right, the NRL, with still having games being played in and around it, or do they need to set aside some sort of dedicated window?
Yeah, I know the voices are kind of getting louder for it, especially with the player welfare stuff coming in. Like, I know a lot of these guys are going to play Origin and then look at backing up. That's a big ask. Mm-hmm. That's a massive ask.
Probably some more injuries coming.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, no one really cares until it actually happens and people do get injured and then, it becomes a big issue. I think it would be cool to have that dedicated rep window, especially for the Pacific boys. You get some Pacific tests in there, get some different kind of games going, and it's a different way to include more people and just give rugby league a different look. But it's a long time. What is it, six weeks all up?
Yeah, and they say best window on best with Origin, but obviously, there's no Kiwis and there's a lot of island boys who don't play in it either. So there's debates there to be had. There's certainly a lot of quality floating around to play in a representative window, should they allow it. But as it stands, we do still have NRL games. And this weekend, we've got a host of teams that are back in action after the Super Bye last weekend. It's just the Dolphins, the Raiders and the Roosters who aren't playing. The Warriors have the Cowboys on Saturday at 7:30. And it's an interesting one for me, Jello, because the two teams are tracking similarly in 2024 and the fact that they can put out a really good performance and then they can suffer, lose games that they really shouldn't. The Cowboys in particular, great on attack. Defensively have been woeful, but they picked up a massive win against the Roosters over the weekend. So it's going to be a big game for the Warriors this weekend. We'll do a proper preview of it around about 2:30 and go through the team list, etc. But obviously the Warriors having a week off, they're getting a number of troops back. How do you feel about, fresh off a bye and playing how they did leading into it? Do you feel about them moving forward?
Well, I'm very confident because we raised the issue that when all those guys that were injured come back, it's going to cause some concerns. It's only a little bit of them back, so they're not all coming back at once. Roger's still not back yet. Shawnee's still not back. So it gives Tamati, he's been playing really well. Chanel had a great game against the Dolphins. Still gives them another chance to do, what they've been doing. I'm surprised that the bookies have Warriors as outsiders.
Yeah, me too.
So they had them at 250 outsiders, and that was before the team lists were named. Mm-hmm. And then when Warriors named Tohu, they named Chance back, they named
Kurt Capewell,
Wade Egan, Adams back in. They were still outsiders, which I thought was quite interesting, considering the fact that Cowboys still have all their guys that are away playing Origin, and you got to remember they're playing Origin down in Sydney. So the next day they're going to wake up. They lose that day travelling as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's an hour bus ride. It's a long way to get up there.
Yes,
so,
and they've named all the Origin stars on the extended bench, but you'd imagine that a few of them won't actually back up. Maybe the Ruben Cotters will, maybe Tommy Dearden as well, but a lot of them probably won't. And so it is interesting to your point that they've put the Cowboys in as favourites. But we'll deep dive into the two teams a little bit later on, about 2:30. Before we take a first break, Jello, and we're going to come back with Dylan Napa. You're a Queensland man, aren't you?
Oh, I am, mate.
Yeah.
Deep down, I'm an Aucklander. So I'm not too bothered.
You're taking the land part of it. And,
Aussies bashing Aussies, you can't lose, you can't miss.
That's
true.
It's
an absolute spectacle.
But where does the Queensland support for you come from?
I've always liked the underdogs, man. So New South Wales, when I started watching Origin.
What happened for the 8 years, though?
Huh?
What happened for the 8 years?
Well, I liked them before that. So when they were big underdogs, and I remember they went into that series. I think they had Carl Webb, they had Matty Bowen, like guys I really liked the Cowboys back then. That was my team. Everyone has a second team. Yes. Cowboys were mine. So when Matty Bowen made that team, I was like, oh man, come on Queensland, I hope they win. And then when he got that intercept and scored under the post, I was just like, oh man.
Well, you'll be loving this
weekend's. I was locked in.
Loving this weekend's matchup, Cowboys Warriors. It was funny talking with the boys this morning on Bricky about it was 2022, I think, when New South Wales won in 2021. Basically the same team the next year, and Queensland named guys like Paddy Carrigan and Jeremiah Nanai. And you thought, who are these guys? Like, this team is going down 3-0. They came out and won it, and actually they became names. And I was going to ask Cameron Smith this question, Jello. Does Origin... Do good players get selected for Queensland, or does Queensland make NRL players good? And what I mean by that is a lot of guys, once they play in that Origin arena, it propels their career. Paddy Carrigan's a good example of that. After that Origin series, I think he won Man of the Series in 2022. Yeah. And after that, Paddy Carrigan's a superstar. He was always a good player, but after an Origin, he's a superstar.
Well, I think Origin is that thing, like it puts you in that pressure cooker where you push yourself to do something that you didn't know that you could do.
Yes.
It's a bit like if you take a young kid and you throw them in an older grade or playing with men, and then they come back to their grade. It's like, whoa, I've been here. I can definitely do this. Well, that's where you get confidence from. I remember my first cup game or something. You go away and then you come back to playing 20s. I think I played international. I played Papua New Guinea. Yeah. Then I went back and played 20s, and I was like, man, this is nothing compared to that, you know. So Origin takes you up here, and then you come back down to club level, and it does build you up as a player.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, we'll talk with Dylan Napa about that coming up very, very shortly. A former Queenslander himself, former Sydney Rooster. What's he up to nowadays? Is he still hanging about?
Oh, did you see the promo they done last week?
No.
So they had this thing. These guys out in Sydney. They're putting up bombs, okay? If you drop the bomb, you have to run it straight. They had Dylan Napa and Angus Crichton.
The Better Beer boys. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
He absolutely smoked a couple, man. He did. So he put a couple in hospital, eh?
Jeepers, yeah. Well, he played 7 games for Queensland. Of course, Cook Islands teammate of yours, and played for the Roosters, the Bulldogs, Roosters and the Bulldogs. He did a Super League stint as well, didn't he?
Over at Catalan.
That's right. So we'll take a break. If you've got any questions for Dylan Napa, you can text her on 8833. We will get to him very shortly after the break. Continue to talk some State of Origin, and we will talk some Warriors heading up to 3 p.m. Running it straight here on SENZ. Stay with us. Welcome back into Running It Straight here on SENZ. 2:15. We're talking rugby league for the next 45 minutes and State of Origin Game 1 tonight. And got a very special guest coming in, Jello.
Yeah, mate. I told you we're going to turn this into a Cook Island League podcast. And this week we got another one. The shot doctor, big puppy Dylan Napa.
What's happening, boys?
Hey, what's up, brother? Now, I understand you're in the heartland. You're in Queensland. Some of you out in the country. Where are you?
I'm actually in New South Wales territory, bro. I'm helping one of my homies out on his farm because we got the bye week. So just kicking back for a week and just doing some odd jobs for him and just relaxing, bro.
Nothing like a Queenslander invading New South Wales on the night of Origin, eh? That's what it's all about.
That's the plan, bro. That's the plan for tonight as well.
But the chat's been all Origin today. Looking back, so 2015, okay, you get called up into the Origin camp.
Yep.
What was it like? Like, tell us what's that first, especially Origin 1. What's that first camp like? Like, do the players still ripping on the piss and stuff like that?
I was 18th man in 2015, so I think I was only about 22 or 23. And yeah, I was pretty much starstruck the whole time. So tried to play it pretty low key because I was on the 18th man. But it was a good experience. And then obviously I got to play in the 2017 series.
What was it like going from because you played kind of that end of that Queensland dominance. So you played with JT, Cam Smith still there in 2017. What's it like playing with those guys to then coming back a couple years later and those guys are gone?
Yeah, so my first game was Cameron Smith's 40th.
Gee.
So that was a bit wild. Like I got presented my jersey. I think there might have been a couple of debutants. And then they did a presentation for Cameron Smith's 40th Origin. So, man, that was pretty wild. Like when you put in, I was pretty happy to be playing my first, and then he's obviously been there for over a decade. Pretty dominant football too there.
Well, I know, obviously Cam Smith, one of the greatest to ever play the game, Dills, but what was it about guys like Cam Smith at Origin level that just put him a cut above everyone else? I mean, 42 odd games is remarkable, but just from your point of view, when you got into sort of camps and playing alongside them, what separated guys like him from the rest?
Obviously their skill level is, the best there is out in the NRL, but their professionalism and I guess just bonding together as a team as well. Like, a lot of them played together at Melbourne Storm and whatnot. So I think they had all those combos, and then obviously their skill, bro. It was pretty wild to see. I was actually so nervous at training that I was going to stuff up the moves. So I was like talking to the coaches all night, trying to make sure I didn't stuff up and embarrass myself in front of the big dogs.
How do you because I know it is quite a short build up. You get named that you're playing, and then it's almost like 10 days or a week later you're out there. How do you kind of compare the intensity and the magnitude of the situation compared to like an NRL grand final? Because I know you've played in both.
So for like the first camp for myself, because it gets named on the Sunday, or you get told on the Sunday or Monday. I think you're usually in camp by that Monday, so you got about 10 days to prepare, so you can sort of build up, if you know what I mean. Like the first couple of days are more just like media and whatnot, and just being happy to be there, and then might have a bonding session or whatever, or the get together, and then it sort of just builds. And then you're just pretty locked in by that Wednesday. It's just getting the game plan and whatnot. And comparing it to a GF, I think because with the grand final, you're obviously stoked from the week before of the semi-final, the prelim final. So it's quite a short turnaround in some way, but they're both intense, bro. They're pretty hard to separate, to be honest.
And what's the game itself like? Do you take in the moment, or is it all just kind of gone in a blur?
Bro, the first game I played, it was a blur. I don't think the ball went into touch, or there was a scrum or a knock on for the first 20 minutes, and it was like flat stick. So it was like, I'm pretty sure Cameron Smith said that was the fastest half he's ever played. So I was kind of happy in that regard, because I got through it. I was like, if he's saying that's the hardest half he's played, then he's played in a few footy games, big games. So, it's you got to take it in. I think the walkout's the best, where you can represent. I remember Nate Miles. He told me, he's like, you're not only representing the name on the back of your jersey, but look at the person in front and look at his last name, because you're representing a lot of people's last names and families.
Jello was just
talking. That gets me going, but I got goosebumps listening to that.
Jello was just talking
I
before.
got a bit of goosebumps there too, man.
Jello was just talking before, Dills, about going to sometimes going up a level. Whether that's going from sort of cup to first grade, or maybe you play your first representative game, and then you come back to sort of clubland, and the confidence that you get from playing at that higher level. What was it like for you going from playing State of Origin back to club football with this, I guess, new sense of confidence?
Yeah, well, it was a weird one for me. It's sort of like Lindsay Collins, because we're both Queenslanders that live in New South Wales and play with New South Wales, and so I think I played about 3 or 4 of my teammates. So coming back, whether who won or lost, it was, it was a bit of a laugh. But yeah, I think you just feel confidence, like knowing that you played, a rep game, and you kind of just want to bring some traits that you learn from other players that you wouldn't have during the year. Like, obviously I don't get to play with all those boys. I didn't get to play with all those boys all year, so I think it was just more about picking up on other people's traits and what worked for them, and trying to use them for yourself. And then and it was a long time ago I played, so but yeah.
No, appreciate it, Bo. Before you go, score prediction very quickly.
Yes.
I got a 18-19 Queensland.
89. Ooh, yes.
Little last minute field goal maybe, or
goal. Yeah. No, let's go Golden Point.
Oh, okay.
Although I know you're out on the farm, so we can't let you. We gotta let you get back to work, mate. Can't let you get slacking, eh?
Oh, it's actually lunchtime now, so.
Oh, there you go.
Smoko, happy days.
Keep my voice.
Appreciate your time, brother. Take care.
Appreciate you, boys.
There you go. Dylan Napa there, former Queenslander, former Sydney Rooster and Bulldog as well. Some great thoughts there around Origin. Another treat coming up here very shortly as well. Last one addition to the lineup, Lote Tuqiri. He's very familiar with the Origin scene as well. Played in 2001, 2002. Funnily enough, found this stat out. Jello scored in every game, or in all 3 games of the 2002 series, which was a drawn series as well. They drew the last game. But the title stayed with Queensland. So we're going to talk to Lote Tuqiri very, very shortly.
That was before Golden Point, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, correct. I think they just ended in a tie, didn't they?
I think it was 2004 they brought in the Golden Point thing because...
Is that across the board or just for...
I think it started just for Origin because they didn't like no one liked it. You're watching an Origin, it's 1-1 in the series and then it's a draw and it's like, pack it up.
Well, it makes it interesting if you... Well, actually, if one team wins the first game and then you get a draw in the second game, that also sort of ruins it as well, because no matter what happens, it's gonna be drawn. Oh, well, I guess unless the first team wins a game, but it just sort of takes away a bit of the shine, doesn't it? So we might chat with Lote Tuqiri very shortly. We will talk some Warriors as well coming up towards 3 o'clock. We'll look at the team lists for Warriors Cowboys, preview this round's games. There's only 3 teams that are on the bye this week as opposed to 7 last week. So all the teams back in action, which is good, although Origin will affect them all, which isn't ideal, Jello, but is the reality that we face when we've got this this representative period, which goes on for 6, because they have 2 weeks in between games, don't they? 2 weeks in between every game. But anyway, we can welcome him, and now a very special guest to the show, a good friend of our mutual friend Blake Ashford as well, Jello. Lote Tuqiri joins us on the line. G'day, Lote.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Mate, we're doing very, very well. We're enjoying talking some Origin, heading up towards Game 1 tonight in Sydney. And we were just actually talking about that 2002 series where I think you scored in every game, but it ended in a draw. The series ended in a draw, which must have felt pretty bittersweet.
You got to bring that up, boy, You're talking about the kick that I missed?
Did you miss a kick?
I think I missed a kick at the end to win the game. Thanks for that.
Oh, mate, we've been, we just talked with Dylan Napa about his state of Origin memories. I mean, apart from the kick, talk us through, your first game of Origin when you got the call up, found out you were playing, and I just get all the emotions and the experience around it all.
Yeah, well, when you grow up I grew up in Brisbane. Obviously born in Fiji, came to Queensland when I was 4. And, when you watch the state of Origin and you see how much it means to the folk in Queensland, and you sort of get bred on hating New South Wales and watching Wally Lewis, Mal Meninga, Gene Miles, that ilk, really do Queensland proud. It sort of becomes part of your year and what you look forward to. And then getting the call, I think Queensland, I made my debut in 2001, and Queensland in year 2000 got absolutely drubbed. I think that was the game, that third game, I think was in Sydney, where Brian Fletcher threw the grenade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 56-16.
Yeah, that's the one. Queensland were, we were on our knees. I think Wayne came back in 2001, and he ushered in a new breed of Queenslanders, as in I think we had about 10 or so debutants in 2001. I was one of them. And it was a great night at the old Lane Park, Suncorp Stadium, obviously now. That was the last game on the last Origin.
And did he bring Alfie back as well in 2001?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Was that 2002? I can't remember. I think it was 2001.
Yeah,
Game
3.
Game 3, yeah.
Game 3.
What about you had a front row seat, like, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but didn't you have a front row seat in, I think it was in the O2 series, to Gordon Tallis ragdolling Hodgson over the sideline?
People, probably made me famous, that clip. I get a run right at the end where I tapping Gordy on the back. Yeah, that was amazing. And that's the sort of effort that makes you do, that's not superhuman, but you're that charged up. You want to go out there and really represent that jersey and do it justice and do it proud. And I think Gordy epitomised that night, and I think guys have done that ever since they've put on that Queensland jersey. So, it won't be different tonight. I can't wait. It's going to be a bit late for you guys over there, as it always is, but it's going to be a great game of footy. I don't know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, the two sides, I guess we talked about injuries as well all this season, Lote, in the NRL. It just seems to be a whole raft of them, and Origin's no exception. You got no Cam Munster, no Nathan Cleary. It does sort of, I don't know, just feels a little bit more even heading in this year. What about, you just mentioned there about Gordo, ragdolling him over the sideline, and I guess the moments of Origin, like, it seems more so than any other sort of game in rugby league. Because the sides are so evenly matched, it does sometimes just come down to one or two big moments, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And you've seen them, glorified on highlight reels everywhere. Gordy's was obviously one. I think Trent Hodkinson, when he threw that dummy, New South Wales squad was 2015 or something like that. My favourite moment was when Mark Coyne, I think, scored that try. I think it was 91 when they scored in the last play of their game.
Yep.
Queensland win it at the Sydney Football Stadium. All those little moments like that add up to what is a great contest, and it'll be no different tonight.
Is there any moments that haven't been televised or broadcast or get the airtime that they deserve? Is there any little moments that you can remember from your time playing?
Not the kick.
Not the kick, no. Moments that have gone your way, Lottie.
Moments that have gone my way.
Maybe, I think, Jello, to your point, like sort of unnoticed moments.
Unnoticed moments, things that can turn a game that people would look straight past.
Yeah, well, I think, I'm going to pat myself on my back here.
Go on.
In 2001, I made my debut, that same game I was talking about earlier. I stripped the ball off Matt Gidley, he was about to score in the right-hand corner, and I stripped it one-on-one, and I threw it out. And I think from a mental point of view, it probably stuck with me and probably my teammates at the time. We were definitely on. I think that's where, we probably outpassioned them a little bit in that game. There was sort of that. Sort of things happen in different games. I think Bradley Myers was another one. He had a cracker of a game in 2002, I think it was, in game 2. I think he there's a lot of things in that game that he didn't get credit for, but he played an amazing game. The Big Red, he probably doesn't get a lot of pats on the back for him playing in a Queensland jersey. Some of the 1% stuff that goes on, he carried well, he defended really well. So those sort of little things that your teammates do appreciate.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I love all the little like dissecting games and pulling them apart and stuff like that. Just one question before you go. We had Dylan Napa on earlier, and I asked him the comparison between a State of Origin and an NRL Grand Final as far as intensity and magnitude. Ooh. How do you compare the two?
Oh, it's tough. I don't know. I think you just, you go to enjoy the week. The week's great. I love all the hype around both games. I think that's a tough one. I guess with Origin, you've still got a chance to play another game, but you don't know whether you're going to get picked. Mm-hmm. Whereas a grand final, you're just sort of leaving it all out there. Well, you're leaving it out there on both games. I don't know if you can split them, to be fair.
Well, you're lucky. Well, some people, very few people are lucky to play in both of them. Lote, just before we do let you go, mate, I'm sure our Kiwi listeners, very familiar with you from a rugby union point of view as well. I probably want to know what you're up to nowadays, mate. What are you doing with your time?
Yeah, mate. So I'm working in a little bit of labour hire, helping the PALM scheme. The Pacific Islanders come out to Australia and, placing them in different working spots in agriculture and agri-labour Australia. So
awesome. Helping
out there, among other things, helping out the Broncos a little bit, and my mate Carmichael Hunt and Justin Hodges at South Slogan Magpies, which play in the Queensland Cup, which is the next level down from the NRL. So awesome. We affiliate with the Broncos and helping them out from a back five point of view.
Mate, are you going to help Carmichael with the Cook Island team as well?
Bro, I'll probably start off with the Fiji Butty first.
Oh, no, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them, bro. Come down to the
Jello has a campaign, Lote, to turn this show into a Cook Islands Rugby League show, and he's getting quite successful. He's trying to recruit you, but mate, we do really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you giving up a bit of your time. I know our mutual friend Blake Ashford. He was the one who helped us organise this. A big shout out to him, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
All good, boys. Take it easy.
There you go.
Queensland by 10.
Queensland by 10. I love it. We needed your prediction to finish. There you go. Lote Tuqiri there, former Queensland, former Broncos. I played 99 games for the Bronx, Jello. Just the one away from the big hundy. But great to talk some Origin with him and with Dylan Napa as well. We'll take a break here on Running It Straight. When we come back, we'll dive into this weekend's games, have a look at the Warriors v the Cowboys, as well as a few other matchups here in the NRL. Running It Straight on SENZ. Stay with us. Welcome back to Running It Straight here on SENZ 240. And just before we get stuck into Cowboys Warriors this Saturday at 7:30pm, Jello, I got some interesting stats/data from the Warriors in and around memberships. It's a conversation that keeps coming up because people see the empty seats at Mount Smart, even though the sold out sign goes up, and they think, well, how is it sold out if all these free seats are there? And the answer to that, I think, is in a couple of things. It's in the membership. So you've got a lot of members who have ticketed products who don't show up for the games for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want to show up that night. It's raining. They want to stay home, whatever. You've got free tickets that get given out, whether it's to schools or to businesses or corporates or whatever, that, for whatever reason, maybe they don't show up. And then you've got the corporates themselves who sometimes they'll just stay in the corporate box. They won't go to their seats out in the stadium because they're just happy to stay inside with the booze and the drink and the food. So that's why I think you see the empty seats. That sold out basically just means there's no tickets available to the public. There's no tickets left over. Anyway, so people say, well, how many members are there? So I went to the Warriors, and this is what I got back. So this year, they've got 17,965 members, and that is up from 5,474 in 2023. So it's gone up by 12,000.
Start of 23 was at 3,000 and something, because they write the number on the big glass window in the office there. It was at 3,000 and something. Right, and so at 17?
Basically 18,000. There's 40 off 18,000. Now, that is a consolidation of all the products, including full season ticketed. There's ones that are non-ticketed. Then there's the Christchurch 2-game memberships and supporter passes.
There's 8,000 of them.
They're correct, 7,500 of the Christchurch ones. But 16,000 of the overall are ticketed products. And so take away the 7,500. So you're looking at around about 9,000 to 10,000 that are ticketed memberships for the Warriors. So 10,000 seats basically at Mount Smart Stadium.
That's a third of the stadium.
It's over a third, right? It's
what was it? 30,000? No, it's shy of 30,000.
It's 25. Yeah. So 10,000 is just under half. Sorry. So when people talk about empty seats, I mean, look, it only has to take 10% of the members to give up for there to be 1,000 seats free at Mount Smart. So maybe that's why we don't see, even though it's sold out, we don't see it completely packed because certain members, etc., that do have tickets aren't showing up.
Yeah, well, you see the difference when people do have tickets and they do show up, and it's shoulder to shoulder. So that Knights game last year, quarterfinal, there was no space anywhere. And I think you'll see that again for the Brisbane game coming up.
Well, because a lot of Broncos fans in New Zealand, right?
Heaps. And that's going to be a big matchup, man.
Saw that in Napier last year. I wonder, Origin, where does that sit? It's the week before game 2.
Oh, okay.
The weekend before game 2. So they'll be playing probably. A lot of the Origin boys will be playing, but they'll be a couple of days out from a camp. Let's go through the teams for this Saturday at 7:30. Cowboys Warriors, starting with the Warriors team. So Nickel Klukstar is at the back. Hewatini Zelezniak and Marcelo Montoya, the two wingers. Then Rocco Berry and Pompey in the centres. Chanel Harris Tavita and Te Martin in the halves. Then Adam Whanua, Blake Jackson forward, the front rowers. Wade Egan, the hooker. Then Maratini Akorde, Mitch Barnett in the second row with Toru Harris, the 13. Dylan Walker, Jazz Tavanga, Tom Ale, Kirk Capel on the interchange. I do wonder if Jackson Ford, there might be a bit of shuffling around there come game day. I'm not sure if Jackson Ford's going to start as a prop, Jello.
Well, I think it depends if Mitch is there.
Is he not 100%?
Oh, no, you know what I mean.
Because of Origin,
yeah.
Right.
But, he is named at 20th man, so I'm sure there'll be no troubles there. But I know Marata and Jackson Ford can swap around quite easily.
Right, okay, yeah. And Marata made such a massive difference in that Dolphins game, didn't he?
Yeah, huge difference.
So great.
So much punch on the edge.
So look, apart from Sean Johnson and apart from Roger, they've got a whole bunch of troops back, the Warriors. Are you reasonably happy with the 17?
I am, and I feel for Tane, because Tane was playing outstanding.
Yeah.
And he missed that game. He had his baby last week. Congratulations, brother, if you're listening. And now he's kind of been poorly roached. Like, he plays well, and then it's not enough to break back into the team.
But the good thing is he's right there in the conversation, Jello, and has played well when he has gotten his chance. So it only takes one person, right, to go down in a bit of a reshuffle, and he's straight back into the side. For the Cowboys, Scotty Drinkwater, the fullback. Then you've got Kyle Felton, Braden Burns, the two wingers. Jackson Puru and Viliami Vailea, the former Warrior, in the centres. Jake Clifford, Chan Townsend are the two halves. And you've got Jordan McLean, Griffin Neem, the two props. Sam McIntyre, the hooker. Then Halem Luki, Kulikifu Funifuaki, and Thomas Makaeli in the back row. Tom Chester, Harrison Edwards, Jamel Shibasaki, and Jason Tomalolo on the interchange. The big one, I guess, for the Cowboys is the extended bench, which has Val Holmes, Murray Talangi, Tom Dead, and Reece Robson, Jeremiah Nana, and Ruben Cotter. The Warriors will be hoping probably none of those guys back up after Origin. Jello, but what do you make of the Cowboys
Well, I don't
team?
know. Even if they do come back after Origin, do you want a team for, half-knackered players that are, they might make it till first half, and then, that Origin one's going to take it out of them. Would you rather play them, or would you play a fresh bunch of guys that are ready to go? Because this Cowboys team went good against the Roosters last week.
It did go. I just wonder if they can back it up, and especially with the Warriors coming off the bye. So, I mean, how do you see it playing out, Jello? Do you see, the Warriors fresh off the bye? Are they playing similar to how they played against the Dolphins? Is it that type of game? Is it that type of style that they're going to try and implement? Because we know the Cowboys have points in them. They're the second best team in the competition at the moment for points scored behind the Roosters.
Yeah.
But they're terrible in defence. So how do you see it playing out from, I guess, a game style point of view?
I think it's a defensive question for the Warriors. How can they D up against a team that is so good in attack, as you said? But I think I look at that Warriors team, and I haven't seen it apart from the Rabbitohs game, where if they do win, it's by a try, it's by 2 tries. They haven't shown anything this year where they can dominate a team and absolutely rip it away from them. So I think it's going to be another close one.
Okay.
I think it's
not
going to come.
Not a nail biter though.
I think it's going to come down to the last 20 minutes.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
But you think the Warriors will get the win?
I'm confident that they'll get the win.
I think in Townsville as well, which is a tough place to go. It's humid. It takes 2 flights to get there, and
Warriors always seem to go all right against the Cowboys. I think they've done the double over them around this time last year.
Yep.
I'm expecting a big thing from Vailea. So Vailea was with the Warriors last year.
Yep.
And I've always find a trend that players that have been let go to a new club, always got that chip on the shoulder that they want to come back and
100%. Yep, against any team. If the Warriors can get a W, they are sitting in 13th at the moment on 13 points. A win would technically put them into the top 8, but then you've got teams like the Roosters who are going to get a free 2 points from the bye, and then Bulldogs, Cowboys, Knights, Dragons, Seagulls all sitting in and around each other. So it may not be top 8 this week for the Warriors, but if they can get a win this week, they'll set themselves up for the following week to get inside the top 8. What we'll do, take our last break here, Jello. When we come back, we'll have a look at some of the other games on this weekend. We've also got our Simpsons, the continuation of our Simpsons 13. We've got to pick another player each to fill out our Simpsons 13, which we've been putting together over the last couple of weeks. Running it straight here on SENZ. You can text you anytime on 8833. Back in a moment. Welcome back into Running It Straight here on SENZ, moving towards 3 o'clock, and we are just going to have a look at the other NRL games on this weekend. It is round 14. It gets underway on Friday night at 10 p.m. with the Dragons and the West Tigers. And the West Tigers coming off the back of Benji's trip up to Fiji, Jello, which caused a bit of consternation. I also see there's a bit of consternation around Lockie Galvin and his manager wanting him to be rested with a niggle or something, and he's been named anyway. And it's maybe just a manager.
What, the manager said that, or he said that?
No, I think the manager's disappointed that despite calls for him to have a rest, because he's young as well, right? He's 18 years old.
Okay.
He's been named. But anyway, the Tigers up against the Dragons. The Dragons without Ben Hunt, Jaden Sewer, Zach Lomax, their 3 Origin players, although I imagine they won't back up just 2 days later. What do you reckon?
Dragons, they're a funny one. They've been a funny one all year, and they beat Penrith last week. I watched that game. They were awful, or not awful, they were average for most of the game, and then,
it's been the story of most of their wins,
yeah,
to be
but
fair.
then back into that second half, it's like they just figured out how to play without Hunt, and, just clicked, and they scored 22 points to close out that half. It was a good win. Tigers on 8 straight losses.
Yep.
That's the most. So even Rabbitohs, I think their most is like 5 or 6 losses.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shocking run. So I think back to the Tigers that beat the Eels when Gutho missed that kick.
Yes.
And I think, man, these guys can play. Lockie Galvin's here. They got something they haven't won since.
I know. They've got, it's annoying because they've got some good quality in that team.
Well, Papali'i's out. There's no
Papali'i's out.
Without them, I've written them off.
So you've gone Dragons.
Dragons, brother.
On Saturday, 5 p.m, you got the Titans and the Rabbitohs, and there's not a lot of Origin players involved from both teams, so they're pretty much full strength. The Rabbitohs, who are looking to lift themselves up off the bottom of the ladder, but they do have Latrell, they do have Jack White, and they do have Cody Walker, Damien Cook, as I mentioned. Basically no Origin for the Rabbitohs.
Well, that's all those guys that were in Origin contention. Maybe not White, and he ruled himself out. But the rest of them, I reckon they'll be fired up that they weren't selected. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll have that chip on their shoulder and they'll be going hard. But on the other side of the fence, the Titans also have David Fafita, who was left out.
Yes.
And he played well last year. Like, for me, he's an Origin player. Like, he's just big, strong.
Well, he's always been a part of it. Well, apart from when he was with the Broncos, but even then he was a part of a wooden spoon team, wasn't he? Like that, he's always been a part of a team that isn't necessarily tracking very well. But
it boggles my mind that he's been left out, and Latrell especially. Like, if you think there's no Bradman Best, he's injured. You still don't get Latrell, so you're saying he's not even like a third string. He's like a. Put him in the centres. Boggles my mind. Put him in the centres.
Put him in the centres, but maybe they need to do that at Souths as well. So, what do you reckon, Titans, Rabbits?
I think Rabbits get it done. I think those boys are going to rally together.
Well. I'm leaning towards Rabbits. You'd say on paper a big game with the Broncos and the Sharks, 9:35. No Nico Hines. He hasn't been named at all for the Sharks, so he won't back up. For the Broncos, they've named, and this is interesting because sometimes they name for the Cowboys, they name their Origin players on the extended bench, but the Broncos have just gone and put them straight in the team. So Reece Walsh is in there, Cobbo's in there, Payne Haas is in there, Paddy Carrigan's. They're all named in the starting 13. So unless there's any late changes from Kevy Walters, that is the run-on team. And the Sharks look pretty much full strength minus Nico Hines and Cam McInnes, although he's been named, at 13.
Yeah, well, they've been on a bit of a rotten run at the moment, the Sharks. I think they've lost the last 2. Mm-hmm. Even if those guys don't back up for the Broncos, I think some of them will, some of them won't. But even if they don't, you look at the reserve bench there for the Broncos, Tristan Saylor, Marty Tapau, like these guys can play anyway. I'm going to take the Broncos at Suncorp. They don't lose there often, and I don't think the Sharks are going to.
0-3 for the Sharks over the last 3 weeks. That's a big hamper on their season. We've got the Storm and the Knights at 4 p.m. on Sunday. The Storm still obviously without Cam Munster. Harry Grant has been named. Most of the rest of their team is all full strength, and then the Knights. That's pretty similar as well with a lot of their players coming back. And this could be a good game at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, well, the Knights were going good, and they ran into the Bulldogs last week, and I said the Knights, they always find a way. You know, they win by a try, and then they got absolutely trounced by the Doggies last week. So I think it's a bit of an end to their run of form that they've had. Fa'alonga for Melbourne at the back there. Man, I think this is the kind of game where he's just going to... I'm waiting for him to have... Like, he has little moments. I'm waiting for him to have that game where he just completely takes over, scores 4 tries, runs for 300-plus metres. I think this could be the day.
Is he in your fantasy team? Is that why?
Not yet.
Okay.
Maybe
you bring him in as a late change. Panthers, Seagulls on. So we've got 2 more to go. Sunday at 6:05. The Panthers, who did go down last week, they have named their origin players as well. Well, actually, both sides have named their origin players. So this could be a pretty titanic matchup on Sunday at 6:05.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are there to be got without Edwards at the back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been instrumental for them. You know, I think they'll be a little bit lost without him, and they looked a bit lost without him last week.
So you think Seagulls?
Seagulls.
And finally, Eels, Bulldogs, a Monday 6 p.m. game. Bring back the Monday night football.
The Western rivalry. I'm going to
Yes.
take the Doggies for this one.
Ooh, yeah, they've got their origin players back. Matt Burton's in there as well. Although the Eels, now that they've got Clint and Mitchell Mosese back in the team, they look pretty good.
I know,
They look
man.
pretty good against the Sharks.
I forgot about them back.
Yeah.
I forgot about them back. Yeah.
Mitchell Mosese and Jermaine Hopgood has been named to play 13. So
That'll be a really good game.
That'd
That
be a
could be
great
the game of the round, I think.
There are some good games. Let's just hope that they all do back up. Right, to finish the show, Jello, we've got to do our Simpsons 13. Now, I'm going to go first because you went first last week.
Go on, then.
So my team so far, I've got Nelson Muntz as my as prop on one side, and I've got Judge Schneider on the other. I'm going to go for my back rowers now. I'm going to go to my number 11. I'm going Snake Jailbird. Bit of a Hudson Young vibe to him, you know.
Yeah.
And talks a bit like this. Actually, they all sort of talk like that, don't they? That sounded more like Mr. Burns. But yeah, he's going to be my second row. What about you?
I've got Ned Flanders at centre.
Really?
Ned Flanders.
Thinking behind
Hardly
that?
doodly. Have you ever seen him without his shirt on? He's ripped.
He's too
Any
nice to be a
Simpsons fans
centre,
will
mate.
know how
He's
ripped
too
he is.
nice to
And
be a
he's got
centre.
God on his side.
I would have put him at the fullback position. Okay, Ned
Hardly
Flanders,
doodly.
you can have him. That is us for running it straight for another Wednesday. State of Origin Game 1 tonight. There'll be plenty of coverage of that over the next few days here on SENZ. We'll be back next Wednesday, hopefully wrapping a Warriors win against the Cowboys. You got that live here on SENZ on Saturday from 7:30. See you
Go
next
Queensland.
week.
SENZ. It's Kiwi for sport.